All right, I'm recording. Hi, everybody. My name is Tim Goheen, and I'm the director of the School of Visual Communication. And I'd like to welcome you all to this virtual event. I've brought together the VisCom faculty and some of our VisCom ambassadors to talk about School of Visual Communication, our four majors, and share with you some of our work. So, a little bit about our school. We are visual storytellers, and that's going to be evident when we start looking at the student work. So, we have four majors: commercial photography, photojournalism, information design, publication, and information design interactive. Um, I also have invited at this to Greg Moeller, who's the Assistant Dean for Student Success here at the Scripps College of Communication. All right. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Professor Julie Ellman. No, actually, I'm going to introduce Sam Girton, Professor Sam Girton first. Sorry, Sam.
That's fine. Hi, I'm Sam Girton. I teach in the School of Visual Communication, and I wanted to talk a little bit about the interactive multimedia sequence. It's a sequence that exposes students to many aspects of new media, interactive design, including UX, 3D modeling, motion graphics, video production, audio production. And when you leave here, you're prepared to enter the industry. We have a really high job placement rate in the multimedia sequence. For years, we had a 100% job placement 6 months after graduation. And we recently did a survey of how many people are working in industry from the School of Visual Communication 10 years after graduation, and it's north of 80%. So yeah, that's a little background on interactive multimedia.
Thank you, Sam.
Sure.
And now Professor Julie Ellman will talk about information design publication.
Yeah, the students in this major, they focus on storytelling, as Tim mentioned earlier, across print and digital platforms, and to help students gain all the skills that they'll need to find their way and do well in the visual communication industry. We, the faculty, work with them on developing skills in typography, data visualization, infographics, photography, color, page layout, and digital design. And so students learn how to think conceptually, and we encourage them to create designs that are meaningful and engaging, no matter what form that takes, whether it's a magazine, web page, mobile app, poster, a book, anything. And our students get involved in design right from the start. So during their first semester in the VisCom program, they take a design class as well as a photography class, and also a class that looks at visual communication in general. And so being in these classes together, the students really get to know each other well. They, throughout the program, as they become, they work with their peers in a very collaborative way throughout their years here. And the faculty really get to know the students as well over the time that they're here and find ways to help them grow and develop as strong visual storytellers. And we encourage our students in all of the majors to be active in different on-campus organizations and publications, to be very active. For example, many of them work for the Post, which is a student-run newspaper at OU. They also design for on-campus magazines such as Thread and Backdrop, which are student-run fashion and lifestyle magazines. And they are also active members of Ohio University Multimedia Society, which Sam is the advisor for, as well as other clubs on campus. And so when students leave our program, they land in many, many different places. They do all sorts of things, covers a lot of ground. They work as art directors, user experience designers, cookbook designers, mobile designers, product designers at major publications and digital companies, including, and I'll just name a few, the Washington Post, National Geographic, American City Business Journals, Food Network Magazine, and the Los Angeles Times. And so we do hear back from many of our alum after they leave here across all the majors. And one thing they tell us pretty consistently is that they felt prepared when they started working after leaving OU. And I think that says a lot about our program.
Thank you, Julie. And now I'd like to introduce Professor Stan Aloss, who will talk about photojournalism.
Hi, thanks for joining us. Just going to touch a couple of things. We have the photojournalism program is sort of the heart and soul, the history of what Viscom was and has become. It is the basis for a lot of what we do. I want to recognize that two of our ambassadors that you'll hear from shortly are Viscom photojournalism folks that are doing great work. Students that go through our program go on to work for newspapers, obviously, from Los Angeles Times to the New York Times and newspapers in between, including Rocky Mountain News, the Sandusky Register, a number of other newspapers, both large and small, as well as places like Getty Images, Associated Press. They're also moving, because the industry is changing, into other storytelling positions, such as we have a former student that is working for the PGA, traveling the world, photographing PGA events as a photojournalist. When they hired him, they said, we just want to warn you that a third of your time will be spent traveling the globe photographing golf. He's an avid golfer and a huge golf photography fan, and so yeah, that's a prime thing for them. We have people working for such nonprofit groups as the Nature Conservancy, Convention and Visitors Bureaus, universities. We just had a recent graduate that was that is employed by a major university, in their marketing and communication program. So visual communication and the photojournalism program gears you up to be able to work in a broad range of places. It is not just doing still photography. It is audiovisual. It is some design basics. It is how to communicate predominantly in a visual communication spectrum to a broad audience. The other thing that I would point to about our program that is significant compared to maybe some of the other programs you look at is we have a master's program where we bring in people that have graduated and have been out usually a bit of time to come back and work on their master's degree. So you're not necessarily in class with them, but you have the opportunity to be around and work with them. And we also have an MFA terminal degree program in the Scripps College that Viscom is a major part of. And those folks are coming from a wide variety of things and doing a wild variety of things. And so they're often the TAs in your class. They may eventually, by their third year, become the instructor of record in your class, but they've got huge, amazing backgrounds, because we only take people into that program that have demonstrated professional experience of at least 3 to 5 years. So part of what you get is this broad, weird family of people that are heavily engaged, passionate about visual storytelling, and you've got a group of faculty that are heavily engaged and incredibly passionate about visual storytelling. And so that's kind of what we offer to you.
Thank you, Stan. And I'd like to introduce Professor Gary Kirksey, who will talk about commercial photography.
Hello there. Glad you're here to review what we do here at Viscom. Commercial photography is storytelling. It's just we go about it a little bit different. We are the authors. We create the story. Don't just record what has happened in front of you. So everything that happens on a commercial photography photograph session is correlated or set up by the photographer. We encourage students to work as creative teams, working with designers, working with if you're doing fashion images, stylists, makeup people, hair people. So you get your creative team together, and then you all work together to get a more effective product. We teach fashion photography, as I discussed. We do still life photography. We do still life photography. We do architectural photography. So we bring all those together so the students have a thorough knowledge of all those. But then they, especially on their senior year, they specialize on what they really want to do when they go out of school. We also are very strong and want the students to learn business skills because as a commercial photographer, you 99% of the time will run your own business. And so you need to be able to have some business knowledge on invoicing, copyright, all those kinds of things to be successful. And we make sure our students do that. Let me see if I can share my screen here. We just today we had some people working up in the studio. We have a nice studio on the 4th floor of Schoonover. Let's see here. It's trying to bring up my options. Okay, well, I'll just do screen 1. And what I have here are images from the shoot today first. And here we go. So this is, the students are using the cyc wall, which is a large infinity wall, but they've created a set in front of it. You can even see they've brought in chairs for props. We also use what's called Capture One, which is a professional geared software in which the images actually show up on the computer versus on the back of your camera. And then you can also use Capture One for what we call post-processing. So you have a good control of your images. And just for example, our students, our recent alumni, we have what we jokingly call the Tyler twins. They first did a lot of work for iHeartRadio, but I just received word yesterday that this Queen Latifah people image is their work on the cover. So recent alumni are out there and they're doing a lot of excellent work shortly after they leave. We train people to not only be photographers, to be assistants, studio managers, and even what we call digital tech people for photographers. Okay. Okay.
Thank you, Gary. So before I introduce our student ambassadors, I want to say a couple of things, kind of round out what the faculty were touching on, and you probably picked up on some of these threads. One, the VisCom, we're a small school and we are a family. The other thing I think is important that makes us stand out is that we believe that all of our students should have as many experiences that they can, because experiences give you experience, and that's what's going to get you a job. That's going to get you where you want to be. We're a program that requires every one of our students as a graduation requirement to do 400 hours internship in their major before they graduate. Typically, a lot of our students do multiple internships because they know that the more experience they get, it builds up their portfolio, which is important. It builds up their resume, which is important. It helps them network in the industry, which is important. And also, all of our faculty have industry experience, and we still have strong ties to people in industry. And that's really important because we help the students network that way. One of the things, one of the programs we have in VisCom is called the Semester in DC program that we run with the School of Journalism. It's an entire semester in Washington, DC, where students get the first 4 weeks will be class time with a professor from either journalism or the School of Visual Communication. And a lot of that class time is very intensive. You're visiting places in Washington, D.C., and speakers come in and talk to students. There's quite a lot of alumni from the School of Visual Communication and Ohio University in Washington, D.C. We have a very strong alumni network. Importantly, though, the final 10 weeks is an internship in Washington, D.C. And our students have had excellent placement in Washington, D.C., great jobs on Capitol Hill, places like USA Today, National Geographic, and we even had one of our interactive students have an internship at NASA. So it's quite exciting. We also have study away programs through the School of Visual Communication because, again, the more people you meet, the more experiences. That's really important. And so now tying back to VisCom being a family, I want to introduce our VisCom ambassadors, and I want to make it clear that these students have come here to be ambassador to talk to you about the program. It's a total volunteer program, and they do it because they love the school and they have a passion for their major and what they're doing. So I'm going to introduce the three who are sitting together first. You can wave. It's Aaron Burke, Abigail Dean, and Leanna Chipinese, and they're there, and they're going to talk about their work and what they've been doing as students in VisCom. So I guess, Aaron, you're first.
Hi. So are we sharing the screen right now? My name is Aaron Burke, and I am a junior photojournalist. Are we sharing the screen?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, I'm used to the Zoom one. So my name is Aaron Burke. I'm a photojournalism major, and I am in my 3rd year of studying the undergraduate course. My hometown is Massachusetts, and I'm minoring in history. When I first came to OU, I really liked stories, and I knew I liked them, but it wasn't until our class where we focused on stories that I fell head over heels. These are some photos from the second story I did. That story really helped me understand how to break down a situation into all the aspects of whatever's going on, like the details and all of that. And it was just a fantastic experience. What really helped me kind of find the community at OU was our chapter of the National Press Photographers Association. The photo on the left is actually when my friends and I drove our visiting photographer, Keitra Kahana, back to the airport so she could leave after speaking to us. And then we spent the day in Columbus together, and they are some of my best friends in the program now. The photo on the right is me with my mentor, Maddie, from sophomore year. In a Stitch onesie. It was Halloween. So Maddie helped me go on the Lens Collective, which was a workshop in Mississippi where we filmed a short documentary about the man on the right. He is a beekeeper in Mississippi from France, and the theme of the Lens Collective was how important the land is to people. And even though he had moved so far from home, he still found a new home in Mississippi. I also met Abigail Dean at the Lens Collective. And she is also one of my best friends in the program now. I actually borrowed her car for this story, which is on a women's addiction recovery center in Athens. If I hadn't met Abigail at the Lens Collective, there's no way that I would have been able to do this story. And just creating stories has been so much easier, having a supportive community and friends who will always have my back. I did enter this story into the Ohio News Photographers Association's contest, and it won first place for the Ohio Understanding Award. In March of last year, right before the pandemic hit, but before we had really heard about it, I joined on a trip to the Northern Short Course, which is an NPPA-sponsored workshop in Fairfax, Virginia, where I attended lectures from speakers and explored the gear room, where I found this mini camera, which was so tiny and had a screen on the back, and it was just shocking to me. That was a very fun event. It was probably the highlight of my year. I just had so much fun and learned so much. We had portfolio reviews, and it was just fantastic. After that, when I got sent home, it was kind of hard for me to find motivation to keep working, just because I had gone from being in Ohio, where I was incredibly productive, to home where I was not. But because I love stories so much, what I really tried to do was find a way to find a story and make it. And because I was spending my summer in Michigan, I decided to document climate change. In the Sleeping Bear Dunes National Park, 2020 had an unprecedented level of water rising in the park, and I decided to do a story on how it was affecting the people who lived there and kind of their emotional connections to the place where they had lived or visited. And just, I really wanted to show how important it is to keep things around so that future generations can experience it. This year, I am the secretary of the chapter of the National Press Photographers Association. And even though we're online, we're working really hard to foster the community that has been so supportive for my undergraduate career so far. And I really am very happy that we have been able to pull together and continue creating such a fun atmosphere. Last semester, we had National Geographic photographer Sam Abel come and speak and do a portfolio review with us, which was fantastic and so insightful. It was incredible. It was so helpful for me and everybody else in the club. When Marcy Nasswander when she retired last year, the exec board, tried to get her a cake and just to send her off with something fun. I know coming into the school when we have online classes can be intimidating, just because you aren't sure if you're going to be able to make a community and make friends and everything. But we have clubs and things like National Press Photographers Association and the Post, which I'm also a member of. And being in those has really helped me find friends who will work on projects with me and continue creating great work. This is my friend Julia Martins de Saa and I, as we were filming a short documentary about this woman, Rochelle Pate, who is organizing food pantries in Athens, Columbus, and other Ohio locations. I would love to hear from any prospective students. So if you want to talk about the school or like what your experience might be like, or just to have a friend in Athens, please reach out. It would be my honor to talk to you about it and just make you feel at home.
Nice, Erin. Thank you.
Hi, I am Leanna. I'm a senior in the commercial photography major. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, and I also have a minor in marketing, social media certificate, technology and society certificate, and then my specialization is in entrepreneurial business operations. So I have a lot of interests other than photography that I think OU has allowed me to pursue in a lot of ways. So I'll kind of talk about that during my slides. So After my freshman year, I was lucky enough to secure an internship at Berkelhagen, which is a food photography studio up in Cleveland that's actually co-owned by an VisCom alumni. His name is Andrew Burkle. And so this was a really awesome experience where I got to learn a lot about studio etiquette and pro photo lighting, as well as Capture One. So I work with food stylists and photographers, assistants, producers, and all sorts of people. So it really connected me to a lot of the people in the Cleveland area, which I'm very grateful for. And it also allowed me to produce a portfolio of work while I was there, which was really awesome to be able to do. And then my next year, after sophomore year, I moved out to Los Angeles and I interned at a company that was half a model management agency and then half a photography studio. And so while I was there, I learned a lot about kind of living independently since I had to move across the country on my own. And so that was a really awesome experience. And then I also got to learn a lot about the model management side of the industry, which was something totally new to me. And I really enjoyed that. So here's a few of my shots from that summer when I was in LA. And these were 3 of the models that were represented at the company that I got to work with over the summer. So I had a blast while I was out there exploring the West Coast. And then the December of 2019, I got to, or 2020, I participated in the fashion photography and videography in Grand Cayman study abroad trip. And so here's some of my photos I took during that. It's a trip where 10 VisCom students travel to Grand Cayman, and the semester before this happens, we all have a class together where we're working hard to establish clients, plan for props and models and locations, and all sorts of stuff. So we ended up executing 5 shoots while we were down in Cayman. For a bunch of fashion and outdoor brands, which was really awesome. So we learned a lot about producing on location in an environment that we weren't familiar with, which was really great to learn about, and also bond with other students in VisCom. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about my involvement within clubs at the university. So I'm the photo editor of Thread magazine. I've held this role for 3 years now, and I've been really lucky to work with a lot of really talented photographers, writers, stylists, and fashion stylists, and all sorts of people at the university. So Thread is the largest student-run fashion magazine at the university. And so we do a lot of work with people across a different variety of skills. So we all come together to produce these issues, and here's some of my work from that. And so I definitely recommend joining some sort of publication if you're a visual communication student, because like Aaron said, it's a great way to meet new people and then get your work out there too. And then I thought I'd talk a little bit about my personal branding that I've kind of developed since I've been at OU. So I think it's really important to kind of focus on yourself as well as putting time into clubs and stuff like that while you're here. So I just kind of wanted to show a little bit of what I've developed. So the top left is a screenshot of my website. The bottom left is some business cards that I created in one of the branding classes that I was in here at VisCom. The middle section is my current portfolio of work, and then the top right are just some shirts that I had made, which is super fun. And then the bottom right is my portfolio book that I made at the end of my fashion photography class, which was, I think, last spring. And so I think it's really important to have your body of work in a published, solid manner so that people can physically hold your book and look at your photos in a way that's not on a screen, since we are on a screen so often all the time now. And then I figured I'd include 5 little photo tips in this presentation. So number 1, be open-minded when plans have to change. So for this shoot, I was originally planning to shoot in this greenhouse, and it was pouring rain that day. And when I got there, they said there actually was no photography allowed, even though when I called ahead, they'd okayed it. So across the street, we found this little bank here. And again, it was pouring rain. So I made poor Brie lay down in this patch of flowers. And it was great because now this image is one of my favorites, and I know a lot of my friends' favorite images. And so it's kind of funny how things work out, even when it's not initially what you were wanting. So Number two, just make sure to have a reflector or some kind of light source on you, because a lot of the times your location may be awesome, but the light might not be great. And so this is just an example. So the photo on the left is with no light bouncing back into the frame. And then the photo on the right, I had an assistant standing right off to the side holding a reflector in one of the little patches of sunlight, which really helped to illuminate the model's face and kind of bring some more attention back to her instead of having the background be so crazy and distracting. Number three, putting more effort into your makeup, styling, and concept is definitely going to pay off in the long run. And so these are just some shoots that are super heavy on makeup or styling that I've done. So you can kind of see they all have their theme and something more visually interesting about them, which I think is really important to have some kind of visually interesting element in all of your photos. Number four, believe it or not, there are good photo locations in Ohio. I found that you just kind of have to look at things from a different perspective. So all of these 7 photos were taken in Ohio. Some were up in the Cleveland area and some were down here in Athens and far in between. You might be asking where I found a desert in the middle of Ohio. That would be me and my friend Anna, who's in the photo. We broke into a sand factory, which was a lot of fun. A little risky, but it definitely paid off in the end. And then tip number 5, always try to have an extra hand on set. And so this image on the right definitely would not have been possible with me just on my own. And so I had Emma to help me on set, and she, as you can see in the photo to the left, is just spraying a bunch of water right in front of that backlight to create this really cool shimmery glowing effect behind my model. And so I always think it's helpful to have another pair of eyes on set and another pair of hands to help look at your photos while you shoot and also create the photos. So those are just a few tips that I think are important. And if you had any other questions about the commercial photography track, you can feel free to reach out to me. Here's my email handle and then phone number and email. So please feel free to contact me.
Leanne, are you gonna touch on learning community just for a second?
I can definitely touch on learning community. So Abby here and I were in the same learning community freshman year. And that's actually how we ended up in this house together. I think it's a really important aspect of our university, and it's something unique that we offer that a lot of schools don't. So your freshman year, you have the option to opt into a learning community, which is basically just about 20 students or so that are also in your same major. And so they group you all in the same pair of 5 classes that you can all participate in together, so you can kind of form study groups and stuff like that to be able to prepare for those classes and exams together. And then you also have a learning community leader, which is a student in your major who is kind of there to guide you and be your mentor throughout the first semester of your freshman year. And so I've been a learning community leader for 2 years. And I really love the position. I think it's awesome to be able to connect with people in the same track. You'll kind of find this community aspect is really important to a lot of people in VisCom. And so that's a position I really enjoy. So we get to do fun stuff during the freshman semester. That's all provided by the university. So we do like pizza parties and movie nights and hiking days and stuff like that. And I think it's definitely a really great thing to get involved in.
Thank you. So I'm going to propose something so I can get the other majors in too. Abigail, do you mind if I move on?
No, that's fine.
Okay. Mackenzie?
No worries. It's okay. Yeah, I can go ahead and introduce myself. So I don't have a fancy slide like they did, but my name is Mackenzie. I am an interactive design student. I specialize in UX design and virtual reality production. I work with the Grid Lab in Scripps Hall, and I get to do a lot of cool stuff with them, making educational content. And I really feel like the VisCom school has facilitated my ability to bring my skills to another college. I get to work with the J. McClure School. It's new, so that's pretty fun. I'll share my screen. So the first thing I'm gonna show you guys is, this was my final from my intermediate interactive design course last semester. I started with basically from scratch. I made this company up by myself. I did the logo, and I did an entire business website for them. It started from a sitemap. I wireframed it up, and finally translated into the WordPress content management system, and this is how it turned out. So I thought it would be kind of cool to show like an actual live website that is hosted by VisCom. They give us a place to host our work, which is pretty cool. It's multiple page, it works, it's up. So if you get to be an interactive student, the VisCom definitely provides a way for you to be able to show your work, which is really exciting. So there's contact us page. Yeah, a lot of the pages have similar formats, but. And then the like the precursor to this project was a one-page site that I did. I mocked it up and then coded it. Unfortunately, I don't have a way to show the final coded product with the screen sharing, so I thought it would be fun to just show you guys the final mock-up of it. So it was just a one-page invitation website that I did for this company, like a hypothetical little summer PR event, and you know, it ended up being coded out for responsiveness, so that was a really fun project to work on. And then if I can find the PDF. So as an interactive student, you end up kind of getting a toe in every discipline. You end up trying your hand at a lot of different things. So for a long time, I've worked for Thread and I've worked for Variant in the past, and this is one of the spreads that I did for Variant. This is probably more in the realm of publication design, but you know, when you're an interactive design student, you get to try everything. So that was definitely one of the things that motivated me to join VisCom, because I could tell that coming in, and I had interest in a lot of different areas. So getting to experience all the different things really was attractive to me. This second page is wasn't for school. It was just a passion project that I did, which is also, you know, the school is always really encouraging us to work on stuff outside of school, do it because we love it and not just because it's due in a week. So this was something that I got to work on for my best friend from home. She makes custom kombucha flavors, and so I thought it would be kind of fun to make mock-ups for her like hypothetical kombucha brand. So I did all of these in Illustrator. It's named Bonbucha because that's the name of her late brother. So I actually collaborated with another artist to do this digital portrait, which I thought turned out really nice. So this is kind of more like on the practical side of it. I did a package for my friend who owns a power washing company. You know, when I joined VisCom, I wasn't, you know, really thinking I'm super excited to make logos for a power washing company, but it ended up being a really awesome project. And I think that in the school, they show you how to be really well-rounded, so you can do the more creative, funky stuff that's in your personal style, but also be able to deliver when you get hired for a project that is a little bit more business and a little less play. And then I thought it would just be fun to end it out with some stuff that I'm working on in class right now. We're doing infographics. I'm taking my first infographics class. So I thought it would be kind of fun. I'm taking it with a teacher that's really, really knowledgeable. And so I've gotten to learn a lot in a small amount of time. And so I've been really enjoying that. I think that's my last slide. Yeah, totally. So I don't have a like contact me slide, but I'd be happy to pass that along for wherever this is posted. I would also love for you guys to contact me if you have any questions about the major or the opportunities to get involved in the grid lab or anything like that. Yeah. So thank you guys.
Thank you, Mackenzie. And we have time left for Megan. And I hope that everyone who comes to this, who's know that at 7 o'clock we have an event with Chance Brinkman-Sull. So Megan.
Hi, I'm Megan. I'm a junior and I'm a publication design major. I'm going to share my screen. Actually, oh, wait a second. I am a member of Ohio University's Multimedia Society. I've also designed for Backdrop in the past. And I also work for the Patton College of Education right now as a student designer there. So definitely have had a lot of experiences through VisCom. And I definitely feel like I'm prepared for the industry afterward. There are just a lot of opportunities, and VisCom faculty are very knowledgeable about their fields, and I feel like I've learned a lot so far. So now I'll share my screen, and let's see. All right. The first thing that I was going to show, I'll just pull up my website. As a student designer for the College of Education, I've worked a lot on their long-term assignments, such as their Athenaeum, which is their annual alumni magazine. So this was something that I designed last year in the spring. So I'll just kind of go through that, but so I followed branding guidelines and all of that kind of stuff. So this project was really great. I worked with the communications and marketing department as well, collaborating on that. So it was kind of like one of the long-term assignments that I've done. And then I've also did their annual report the semester before that, which again was using InDesign. And then let's see, go ahead and show you. This is a project that I did last semester. As Mackenzie was talking, I took the information graphics class last semester, and we did our project on the 2020 election. So we kind of got to choose our topic relative to that. This isn't, obviously the data now has changed, but this was my first time prototyping in XD and kind of going through that as well. So it was a great experience to learn that. So I kind of looked at data visualization, redoing the map, because that's so often shown as just the states and you can see so much red or so much blue. And so really figuring out a way to show that and present that information differently so that it makes sense to people. And then looking at swing states and kind of the recent poll margins, popular vote, and then people's opinions on whether or not the Electoral College should be abolished or not. So that was a really great project, and I definitely learned a lot from that as well. I am hoping to do more magazine work and publication design in the future. So that's definitely been kind of my focus right now. But yeah, VisCom has really helped me a lot in gaining confidence in my skills and getting a wide variety of experience in different programs and settings. And they really do focus on the community aspect of it as well. So that has been really helpful in feeling like I have a community at OU, just through like learning communities and, like I said, the student organizations, different things on campus as well. So I don't have a contact information page, but like if there's any way that I can share that, Tim, I don't know if you have any.
You could, I don't know if it records and put in the chat, but you can send it to me and I can give anyone who wants the names and phone and contact information of all the ambassadors.
Yeah.
And we'll be doing this more than once. And so I promise next time, Abigail, you're going to go first. Right? Okay. I promise. And so we're getting close to 7 o'clock. And remember, we have a guest speaker, Chance Brinkman Saul, and he's actually here because I see the name Chance, and I don't know of anyone else named Chance, so I see him in the participants. Before we do that, I just want to say one more thing. I asked Greg Moeller if you want to say something before we have our guest speaker.
Quickly, a big shout out to Tim for organizing this event and for the wonderful VisCom faculty and students for being here tonight. This is a really special school, special programs, and I don't really have a lot to add because I think the students really said it all. This is a community. It's a small school, small faculty, but these students and faculty are doing amazing, amazing things. And a lot of that was on display tonight. So it's a wonderful place. I'm blessed to be able to work with these folks in Schoonover Center and see these amazing students from start to finish, Bobcat student orientation to graduation. Some of these students, I did their graduation checks not too long ago, and I'm going to be sad to see them leave. But it's a wonderful community.
Fix that.
What's that?
We can fix that.
Yeah, well, no. So anyway, hats off to these students. They're going to go off and do amazing things. And thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you, Greg.
Thanks, Greg.